It's October 14, 2022, and if you can believe it, it's a Friday once again. It's October 14, 2022, and if you
Woo! It's up!
All right, well, in the Young Turks, Jake Huger, John Idolo with you guys today. We will drop it in the second hour, don't worry, okay? But for now, me and John right now on the show. Look, big day ahead, tons of stories. Roger Stone, not just versus Jared Kushner, John, but perhaps against Donald Trump. Oh,
Pardon him.
Let alone the abortionist B word, which we'll get to and actually say in a minute.
He is the worst.
Yes, and so there's tons of news stories, and of course today's food for thought trivia. So if you're a member, well, actually you could become a member today and still win it. 100 members are going to get $100 free in Blue Apron gift cards. So sign up today, tyt.com/join. All right, John, let's do it.
Okay, we've got so much to talk about. Let's jump right into it. If you've been wondering how Donald Trump is reacting to the January 6th committee voting unanimously to subpoena him, not well. He sent a 14-page letter that he totally wrote himself to Benny Thompson, the chair of that committee. It has a headline, as letters always do: "The presidential election of 2020 was rigged and stolen." So he hasn't learned much of a lesson, presumably, from all of this. Anyway, he goes on to say so many different things, and we're not gonna cover all of them. He talks about the impeachment hoaxes of the radical left Democrats and all of that stuff. But he goes on to say, this memo is being written to express our anger, disappointment, and complaint that with all of the hundreds of millions of dollars spent on what many consider to be a capital C charade and capital W witch hunt, and despite strong and powerful requests, What does that even mean? You have not spent even a short moment on examining the massive election fraud that took place during the 2020 presidential election and have targeted only those who were, as concerned American citizens, protesting the fraud itself. Who the "our" is that begins that paragraph, I have no idea, and that is only the first of many times that Donald Trump speaks out in support of the people who he has previously been forced to condemn that stormed the Capitol and tried to murder people and overthrow democracy and all that. He's back on their side, he's back in defense of them. In it, he rehashed many of the same claims that he's been making since January 6th or even since November 2020. He claimed that he had authorized thousands of National Guard troops to defend the Capitol, a claim that his own former acting defense secretary refuted in testimony to the committee. He just keeps saying it despite that. He says that the elections in Georgia, Michigan, Arizona, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania were all dubious because of reports of irregularities or suspicion about movement of ballots. Every single one was, of course, stolen. He specifically says that black Democrats in urban areas stole the election from him. That's how it happened, basically. He did a state-by-state breakdown of all of this evidence. You can either read that in his letter or watch whatever videos Mike Lindell has put out recently. It's all the same stuff. And he went on to say that apparently one of his biggest grievances was that the hearings weren't interesting enough, and so they were very poorly rated. The unselect committee was. It got very poor ratings during their show trial. Look, the ratings of the hearings are like the least important thing that has ever happened. But let's also keep it real. The ratings were good. The MSNBC was winning in their time slot. It doesn't matter. Nobody should care about that, but I feel the need to correct the record on that. So anyway, I don't know, Jake.
Okay. So first, it should be noted that it is an amazing irony that the right wing that claims to love alpha males has chosen a leader that is the weakest person in America, that is just a nonstop crybaby. Like, you just poke him a tiny bit and he'll cry. It's like you could make a doll out of it. Oh my God. ShopTYT.com. That's an idea. Okay, we're gonna look into you. Make a Trump doll. You press the soft belly. Right now, look, I'll give you an example that I think will clarify it for you. So, we've talked about we like Bernie Sanders, right? We criticize him when it makes sense, etc. But obviously,
he's fine.
Overall, he's the top progressive in the country among politicians, right? Okay, good. So now, and Bernie also actually had actually had something rigged against him. That was the 2016 DNC, the primaries, right? Now, guys, when I say that, I don't mean the votes, right? And so that'll piss off some super old school libs and stuff. Oh no, it was the votes. Okay, whatever, right? You never presented good evidence on that. But did they rig it in terms of they funneled money to Hillary Clinton through the states? Absolutely, that's no question. It's basically a form of political money laundering. Did they rig it in less debates at the worst times, et cetera? No question.
Super delegates?
Yeah, the super delegates, all of those things were structurally meant to help Hillary Clinton, who they said was invincible. Then why did you have to rig all the rules to help her? Okay, anyway, so now all that did happen. And we did cover it, and we did prove it, unlike Trump, who lost 62 court cases, presented zero evidence. But imagine for a second if Bernie was still talking about it.
Ugh.
And he was using this kind of language. The DNC did the witch hunt against me. We're like, Bernie, focus. Like we're trying to get minimum wage passed, we're trying to get this passed and that passed. And if at every time you talk to Bernie, he was like, I'll tell you what, they rigged it against me. The witch hunt people, I had a very strong candidacy, but they robbed me. We'd be like, what a weirdo. And we would immediately ditch him. You can say, oh yeah, right, no you wouldn't. Oh yeah, we just ditched Tulsi. Tulsi was one of the strongest advocates for Bernie and for progressives in 2016. The minute she turned around and was like, oh, I think the right wing kind of rocks, right? And she did it apparently subtle enough that some weirdo leftists are still clinging on to her skirt, right? Like, oh yeah, Tulsi, she's the one, right? No, us, we're like, yeah, no, she's wrong, gone, right? But the Republicans never do that, never, right? Trump's like, I'm gonna deliver for you guys, I'm gonna get you more jobs, higher wages, I'm gonna get you everything, I'm gonna get you healthcare. Remember how he was talking about expanding healthcare? He didn't do any of it, none of it. The only thing he did was tax cuts for the rich. And the right wingers are like, Oh, he took my money and gave it to the rich like himself? Okay, good. Okay. Oh, he's still crying about the elections. I love people who are so weak they keep crying forever and ever. That's my favorite. Little weak, you know what?
I know. I think I know.
Okay, so all right, so that's Trump. But of course, my favorite part of the story is what we're about to get to, which is Trump might testify. Ooh, come, please. Come and find out. But John, to answer your question, why does he say things like strong and powerful requests, right? One, because he's a moron. Again, if anyone on our side talked like that, I made a request, but it was strong and powerful, we'd be like, okay, weirdo, let's get someone else, right? The reason he says it because the request sounds weak. So he wants to say, well, I requested, but like not like a weakling. I requested it with strength and power.
Yeah.
Child,
well,
idiotic child.
And that's why even like the most basic, like beginning creative writers learn that you don't add more adjectives, you use stronger verbs. It's a demand. That's the strong word, not a powerful request. It's a demand, okay? The English language is fascinating. You should look into it.
He should definitely look into it. He claims he has. You remember when one time he claimed
the best words.
No, not only that, he said that he invented the word fake. Yeah, it's still the right wing's like, oh, I bet that's true, man. No, that wasn't in the English language my whole life.
Yeah. Okay, so we're gonna turn to the testifying in a sec, but first, you made claims about him being weak, which is obviously ridiculous. It takes a true alpha to use part of their 14-page whiny letter to include literal photos of the crowd. If we could go to graphic 6. So the January 6th committee is making the case that you sent a bunch of people from your rally to go attack the Capitol, and you respond to that by saying, look how many people I told to attack the Capitol. Oh, okay, I guess. That at least, I think those are authentic photos, which means that we have evolved, okay? Because he's actually showing real photos of the crowds he's drawn, but I don't see how that makes things better for him.
My rioters and insurrectionists were strong and powerful. Did I accidentally just admit I'm guilty? Yeah, you kind of did.
Oops, capital O, oops. Okay, let's turn now to potentially more important stuff. The question now is, will Donald Trump actually come in? January 6th committee apparently wants him to. Is he gonna do it? Well, he has publicly attacked the committee, okay, but he has been telling aides privately that he favors testifying before the panel as long as he gets to do so live. Now, the lawmakers have rejected similar demands from other witnesses, but preliminary discussions among the panel members indicated more openness to a live interview with Mr. Trump, that is fascinating, because obviously doing it or not is one thing, doing it live or not is potentially even more important. A Trump advisor apparently told the Daily Beast on Thursday evening that he should not. We don't know who that advisor is. I assume his legal team is desperately trying to get him to not do that. But we know who Donald Trump is, and we know he loves talking to a camera. We know he loves lying about the election. This is a great opportunity to do both of those things before a lot of people. So what do you think at this point? You think he's gonna do it?
Well, look, first I wanna address his supporters. Do you think he's really smart and really right on this issue? Or do you think he's a dumbass and totally guilty? Because that should determine logically whether you want him to testify or not. Look, I've testified before, and when they asked me to testify, since I was right, I wasn't like, oh, no, I don't want to testify. No, I went and testified happily, and I did great, right? Because I was right. So what is it, guys? What do you want? Like, if you really believed it, again, let's say Bernie was asked to testify, are you really in favor of higher wages? Yeah, great, let's go. Are you kidding me, on national TV? Great, let's do that immediately, right? But you know what you're thinking, MAGA. You're thinking, don't go. They'll say things like, it's a perjury trap. Not unless you intend to lie.
Well, hold on, when you say MAGA there, are you talking about his legal team advisors and maybe Fox News hosts? Are you talking about regular MAGA people?
No, I'm talking about regular MAGA. Because
I bet they want to see him testify more than anything in the world.
Come on, push him to do it. Because all of his advisors and all the Fox News hosts already know he's a dumbass, right? They've been lying to their audience the entire time. If you ask Tucker Carlson his real opinion, should Trump testify, he would tackle him to have him not testify.
No, when you corner Tucker, he lies. He's already told us that.
Yeah. So of course not. Look, guys, MAGA guys, you don't get it. All of your leaders already know what you don't know. Trump is one of the dumbest guys in politics, and he is a pathological liar. Why do they know it a little bit better than you do? Even though, come on, guys, how long is it going to take you to figure it out, right? Because they deal with him every day on a personal level. So he'll be like, "Get me a Diet Coke," and you get him a Diet Coke. I didn't ask for that. You're like, he can't help himself. That's why we call it pathological, right? Yep. So if he went to go testify, minimum every other sentence would be a perjury charge, right? He lies nonstop, right? So of course, all of his advisors are like, no, whatever you do not testify under oath. By the way, I mean, you see it, we'll talk more about it later in the show with Roger Stone, but they all are like, oh my God, the Democrats are gonna get us, and they're gonna, if we are lie under oath, they're gonna put us in prison. Oh, for January 6th, you wanted the pardon because they were gonna put, have you guys met the Democrats? The Democrats have still not gotten Trump under oath once.
Yeah.
None of the prosecutors in the country, for all the laws that he's ever broken, have ever gotten him under oath once. All you gotta do is get him under oath. He just sit back, relax, enjoy the show. He'll give you hours and hours of lies because he can't help himself. But MAGA guys, you think I'm wrong. Oh, he's the most honest guy I've ever seen. Great, then encourage him. Send him notes, he'll love it. Oh, great Lion King. He's, did the King of the Lion video the other day. Oh, the jackals are nipping at your heels. Go crush the jackals. Live TV, okay. Testify, show them what you got. You're so right. Okay, I would love to see that. By the way, John, don't get me wrong. It's not impossible for the Democrats to blow. Like,
oh, sure, yeah.
Yeah, like Trump could testify and they'd be like, I didn't know, right? And you're like, no. Oh my God.
He just talks for 3 hours straight and they don't interrupt him.
But luckily Raskin's on there.
Yeah, Raskin.
And Liz Cheney's on there, so they probably won't blow completely.
Yeah, one would hope so. I still love that they invoked the perjury trap. Like they so knew that he could not help but lie that they came up with a concept where him lying proves the other side is bad. Anyway, okay, so I have another thought about what might happen if he does testify, but the theme of this block is about how he's feeling, and one way that we can infer how he's feeling is how much he's bleeding on Truth Social. So here is a video showing his posts from a 1 hour period on Truth Social. Take a look. Baking soda.
Baking soda. The thing that you're supposed to inject into your lungs?
I don't know.
Is that what you
so much. There's HuffPost, NBC, Mother Jones. I think that was CNBC, unselect committee stuff. I think there's some grifting. Literally, that is a 1 hour period. Go talk to your kids. You have kids, you have businesses. What are you doing? Does he? Does he really have kids that he cares about? Does he have businesses that aren't bankrupt? That is 1 hour. I will hear about what someone annoying on Twitter has done or whatever, and I'll go to their Twitter account to find it. And very often, have you ever scrolled through the Twitter page of very online people? You can't find anything because in one day they'll tweet 300 times or something.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna name names because then they'll start tweeting 300 times about me, but you know who I'm talking about. Anyway, you're 100% right, you sit him down, he's gonna lie. But I think more importantly than him lying, I'm not good with old movies, but A Few Good Men is the one with Tom Cruise, right?
Yes.
Okay, the big trial scene at the end where the general or whatever admits what he did because he got pressured. And that always sort of bothered me because, come on, why are you gonna do that? That's like a professional guy, why are you gonna, but Trump does that.
Yeah.
Chris Matthews pressured him on abortion and got him to say, yes, we should punish the women. And Lester Holt pressured him a little bit and he admitted, I fired Comey over Russia. Like, all you have to do is make it so he feels like, well, I don't want to admit that I broke the law, but like now that seems like the strong thing to do. They could easily get him to admit that he wanted violence, easily get him to admit that he wanted Mike Pence to die. He will definitely lie, and that is damaging. But him telling the truth could be way more damaging, and he will do it so readily.
That's a brilliant point. So here's how you get him to do it instantly. The CIA pulled off a coup against Mohammad Mossadegh in 1953 in Iran. It was the best coup ever planned. Oh, no way, I planned a better coup. Oh yeah, why didn't you do it January 6, 2021? He wouldn't even blink. He wouldn't even blink.
100%. Anyway, we're gonna have to see. They're drafting it. We don't know how long it's gonna take for him to respond. And even if he does respond, really fast, do you think that they would try to fit this in before the midterms? I mean, they clearly, like keeping it real, they want this whole process to affect the midterms.
No, this is all a fun conversation, but here's how it's gonna go down. His advisors are going to tackle him. They're gonna put him in the storage closet where he kept the secret documents, okay? Because there's no way that they could allow Trump to testify. That's just political suicide, right? So his lawyers are gonna challenge it, it's gonna drag out, they're gonna assume the Republicans are gonna win the House, and then they'll quash it. Yeah, but even if the Republicans don't win the House, he's not gonna testify. There's no way. Like if he did, it would be spectacular. And MAGA, maybe you guys are right. Maybe he'll tell the truth and show that it was actually that Biden rigged the elections, and those rioters were actually tourists, Antifa tourists.
They were mules.
Yeah, mule Antifa tourists,
they were mules,
right? And he could prove that. I think you guys should give it a shot.
Yeah.
But look, the chance of Democrats holding anyone in power accountable is next to nothing.
Yeah.
So both the Republicans and the Democrats are aligned to not actually hold Trump accountable. So the only person who could rescue victory from the jaws of defeat here is Trump by accidentally stepping into the jaws of defeat. Right?
Which, if you're watching Trump, stepping into the jaws of defeat would be a very strong thing to do.
Oh, no way,
A very big alpha boy would do that.
No. Hillary is the best at stepping into the jaws of defeat. There's no way that Trump could do it as well. There's no way. Oh yes, someone in Mar-a-Lago, I just heard it.
Anyway, we're gonna take our first break. When we come back, there's a lot more. Don't go anywhere.
Trust me, I'm like a smart person.
You can't handle the truth.
Back on TYT. Like I said, guys, today's food for thought trivia. We're gonna ask you a trivia question in the members only part of the show, and then the first 100 people to answer correctly are gonna win a $100 Blue Apron gift card. That's a true gift card. You don't have to put your credit card info in. So today's a great day to become a member. tyt.com/join. You can hit the join button below on YouTube. So let's do that. Oh, Dad, Monday, Unbossed with Nina Turner starts on Monday. She's got an amazing first guest.
No, I'm on Tuesday.
Oh, the first guest is Cenk Uygur or Uyghur or something. Okay, we'll get to that too. Go subscribe at youtube.com/unbossedtyt and make sure you're watching at 4 o'clock Eastern. Okay, so. Now, let's go to our members. Art Guy with now what's become a familiar refrain. John's here. It's John. And also Cenk, I guess.
They do the exact same thing on my show with whoever happens to be on.
Yeah, I know. Ian says, does he mention ratings in those 14 pages? I would be shocked if he didn't. Well, Ian, as you found out, he did. Of course he did.
Who cares?
So nice job, Ian. In fact, Ian, for a good prediction, you know I like good predictions. You bow a Blue Apron gift card, $100. We're giving away money to members like crazy, okay? I'm serious. crazy. All right, Connor says, Cenk and John doing the Trump voice has inevitably led me to do it as well. I've been chasing the dog around all day going, rigged election, rigged election. That's awesome. Wait a minute, that's funny. You get a Blue Apron gift card, $100.
There go two of them.
Okay, you're still getting 100 tonight. That's different. We got a lot of gift cards, okay? John Bogino says Trump commits the strongest crimes, the best crimes. When you're a patriot, they let you do it. That has an element of truth to it, and not the patriot part, but the let you do it part. Anyways, John Bogino, you get a gift card. Oh, $100 gift card for John Bogino. Nice job. Right now, Dan Bongino right now is somewhere going, wait, is that, can I get it?
It's like trying to come up with a joke.
He's like, wait, but that guy kind of was making fun of me, and it's, well, all right.
No, you go hungry.
No. Happy Warrior Jargon says, I love this host combo. Why, thank you, we appreciate it.
It's the first time, but I'm liking it so far.
Yeah. Conversations on Mute says, thanks CYT for the Blue Apron. I plan to enjoy my ginger pork meatballs later this week. Fun for everybody, we'll be back.
You know, I'm like a smart person. Trust me, I'm like a smart person.
All right, back on CYT, Cenk and John with you guys. Go.
Okay, I will. In this last January 6th committee hearing, there was a little bit of a repetition of some of what had been covered earlier. The committee wanted to make sure that everyone understood where we've come from. And on the right, their response also kind of reiterated what they've been saying from the very beginning, but it's no more accurate, no more honest, no more true than it was when they first made the claims. Let's explain. First, here they are.
Was Speaker Pelosi involved in the decision to delay National Guard assistance on January 6th? Those are serious and real questions that this committee refuses to even ask.
Jim Banks just raised some very serious questions that should be answered by the January 6th Commission, but they're not.
So Jim Banks raised some very serious questions, Steve Scalise says. And he wants to know, why didn't Nancy Pelosi, why didn't the Democrats try to call in somebody to deal with the chaos of January 6th? If only there was some way for us to know why they didn't do that, to know what they were thinking about, what they were saying. If only Steve Scalise could have been in a position to know that, which we now find out he 100% was. Take a look at this.
This cannot be just we're waiting for so-and-so. We need them there now, whoever you got.
You also have troops. This is Steny Hoyer. Troops,
okay, so we have a little bit of time to make that decision.
Andrews Air Force Base.
All right.
Other military bases.
Thank you.
We need active duty National Guard.
How soon in the future can you have the place evacuated, cleaned out?
I don't want to speak for the leadership that's going to be responsible for executing the operation. So I'm not going to say that because they're on the ground and they're the experts.
Well, just pretend for a moment it was the Pentagon or the White House or some other entity that was under siege. And let me say, you can logistically get people there as you make the plan.
So yes, Mitch McConnell was there. You saw the woman in the black and white design on her coat. She moved to the side so Steve Scalise could be a part of the conversation. He was there. He knows exactly what they requested. The urgency in their voices, they're saying, you gotta get us National Guard. I forget exactly who the other gentleman was. He was saying, here are the nearby places, go to there, find people, send them over. Nancy Pelosi is like, yes, there's a lot to figure out. We can figure it out while the troops are headed here. Steve Scalise was listening to every second of that. And every minute since then, he's been lying about his knowledge of what actually happened. It's pathetic.
Yeah, I am not 1% surprised by this. And look, I assume if a Republican politician is talking, a Republican politician is lying. To be fair to the Republicans, tons and tons of Democratic politicians are also liars, and I assume that as well. We would love higher wages. Oh, we're voting on it? No. Okay, so that happens and we point it out every time. But with the Republicans now, it's a rebuttable presumption. Like, I'm being dead serious. Like, if there's a Republican politician on TV, I'm assuming that it's a lie. And if they say something true, I'm like, whoa, like take a note. That was true, that's weird. And now it's not just Republican politicians, Republicans on social media, Republicans in real life. They won't, why do you think they love Donald Trump and they have him as their leader? They love liars. They don't want to know the truth. Oh, we should all be equal. They're like, I don't want that, right? Now you're saying we have to teach about racism and now justice,
equity.
Yeah, now gay people and trans people are gonna be equal to us? Oh, yeah. Somebody tell me being white means being equal. Okay, Trump's like, I'll do it, right? And they're like, yeah, that's it. So do you think if his voters found out about Steve Scalise, now he's not Trump or anything, right? He's not untouchable. But if you told all of his voters, you showed them that exact video, so they know for a fact that he's lying, right? He wouldn't lose one voter.
I don't think they would care.
No, they'd be like, I don't care. Pelosi probably lied about something, okay? And it was Antifa, tourist, National Guard anyway. Like, what? That doesn't even make any sense. They're like, we're not trying to make sense, okay? So yeah, I mean, look, Desjardins had paid for 3 abortions. They voted for him over and over and over again in Tennessee. They'll vote for Herschel Walker. They vote for Trump, and he's the biggest liar we've ever had in politics. And that's saying a lot, because they're almost all liars, right? So this won't affect him 1%. But yes, that was a gargantuan lie. But just think about it on a personal level for a second. So forget the politics, because it's not gonna affect anything in politics. How unbearable are these guys? Imagine if you knew somebody like this, that like you had a personal conversation in like a really traumatic moment. Somebody had broken into your house, right? And you're worried about your life and you're together, you're calling the cops and stuff. And then like a couple weeks later or a couple months later, he comes out and he says, she didn't call the cops, okay? She's the one who had the person break into the house. You'd be like, what kind of a monster is this guy? Like, what's wrong with him? Is he mentally unbalanced? And you'd never talk to that person again, right? That's every Republican.
Yep.
So Scalise just happened to get caught on tape. But you think Ron Johnson's telling the truth about January 6th? You think any of them are? No, they're all effing liars. And so, by the way, I give the right wing credit for this from time to time. Like, they sussed out that mainstream media was full of crap. And a lot of the left still believes in the mainstream media. They're like, oh, how are we gonna pay for healthcare? Price. Okay, I bet we shouldn't get a universal health care. Like, Democratic voters, I love you, but wakey, mainstream media is full of crap. They're corporate propaganda, right? Right wing figured that out. But the minute you give them right wing propaganda, they're like, yeah, there you go. Yeah, there we go. I like those lies. Those lies are better. Okay, no, they're still lies.
Yeah, 100%. And look, we had Josh Hawley pretending like there was. Why are you guys talking about January 6th? There's nothing bad about January 6th. Meanwhile, that's Josh Hawley. It's nothing to worry about. Nancy Mace, like a couple weeks out from it, all of a sudden, AOC is talking about how horrifying the experience was. AOC, very understandably, was worried about being murdered and/or raped by these insane people. Nancy Mace is like, why are you saying that you were scared? Why are you lying, making yourself the victim? Meanwhile, they have interviews of Nancy Mace right after it, talking about how terrified she was and how terrified the Republicans in the room with her were. But as soon as, a couple days later, they don't have to worry about it. Now, the Steve Scalise lie is maybe a little bit worse because it's so specific. It's so ridiculous. And let me make clear why this particular lie is ridiculous. And it really goes to the point of Cenk saying that none of this actually matters. It doesn't matter to the voters. It doesn't matter to Steve Scalise. He's still gonna make this same claim. It doesn't matter that it's being debunked. But more importantly, the claim doesn't matter. And do you know why? Their evasion here is, why didn't Nancy Pelosi call in the National Guard to stop something that they've spent a year and a half describing as nothing? It didn't matter. It was peaceful people walking around. It was, as Tucker Carlson says, an election fraud protest, that's it. And why didn't she call the National Guard to crush it? To crush something that wasn't a big deal. It's exactly like what we dealt with COVID for like 2 years. Like, why is Joe Biden not doing this? Why is he letting people die? Why did China let COVID in? Why did Fauci do something with a lab? What did they do? let in a virus that we don't think we should take any precautions against. The diversion is always someone else is responsible for something that we shouldn't care about. We should care that they're responsible, but we shouldn't care about the actual thing. And it doesn't make any sense, but it doesn't have to. It's just supposed to waste time to get us past any point of actual consequences, whether it's for the response to COVID, whether it's for actually leading to January 6th. This is now their template. Just blame someone for the thing that we shouldn't care about.
Okay, one last one. Lindsey Graham, on the day of the riots, was the guy who, you're gonna be shocked to find out, panicked the most. So Hawley's running like, right? Meanwhile, Graham is yelling at the guards, shoot them, okay, about Trump supporters.
Shoot them in the head.
Okay, shoot them in the head. And then that day he comes out and he's like, gives a speech and this was not right, okay? Like a couple of weeks later. Lindsey Graham's like, well, look, I've thought about it and it turns out boots do taste delicious, especially Trump's boots. Oh my God. Yummy for my tummy, okay? It turns out the rioters were coming in so I could lick their boots. Oh, I didn't know that. That was gonna be delicious. So that's the Republican liars for you.
Yeah.
Assume as a matter of course. This, and if, by the way, you know us and you see it all the time. If we see something that they're saying that makes sense, we go, hey, look at that. That one's actually true, right? But unless we're doing that, assume that everything they're saying is lying and you'll be right.
Yeah, we trip over ourselves trying to find things on, like, for instance, Fox and Friends. Kilmeade, 3 times a year, says something reasonable.
That's true.
Ducey, 5 times a year,
That's
says something
right.
reasonable.
That's right.
We just want to give them credit. They very rarely deserve it. Anyway, with that said, why don't we move to someone who has never deserved credit for literally anything. In the final months of his presidency, Donald Trump pardoned that guy, Roger Stone. Now, what he pardoned him for was Roger Stone's involvement in covering up everything that happened around the 2016 election. Roger Stone lied to investigators, he intimidated witnesses, he broke the law in multiple intentional ways, and there shouldn't be any consequences for what Republicans do, so Donald Trump pardoned him. But there was actually a second set of pardons, and a second topic that Roger Stone wanted to be preemptively pardoned for. That was anything that might come about as a result of what Roger Stone was doing leading up to and during January 6th. And that actually did not happen. At the same time though, he was being followed by a documentary crew, so we got to find out what he was thinking, what he was saying when he apparently found out that that second pardon was not going to be coming. Take a look.
Jared Kushner has an IQ of 70. He's coming to Miami. We will eject him from Miami very quickly. He'll be leaving very quickly. He has 100 security guards. I'll have 5,000 security guards. You want to fight? Let's fight. You and your abortionist daughter.
Okay, we're gonna return to the last word in that because it's actually fairly crucial, but that was the little bit that remains of the husk of Roger Stone freaking out, threatening to, I guess, kill Jared Kushner and all of the people that surround him. He was just talking about getting some sort of personal army to attack Jared Kushner. Now, of course, importantly, it wasn't Jared Kushner's call on whether he'd get the pardon, it's Donald Trump's call. And Donald Trump did actually seem to be on Roger Stone's mind in a way that you noticed.
Yeah, so I don't know why we bleeped it out there. We don't have to bleep out that word. About Ivanka, he said, abortionist bitch daughter, okay? Wait, daughter? I thought we were talking about Jared Kushner, in which case it would be abortionist bitch wife, right? But notice he said daughter. So now he's making a reference to Trump. Now remember, he's asking Trump for the pardon. Kushner's in charge of the process, but at the end of the day, especially for guys like Roger Stone, that big and that close to Trump, Trump makes the decision. So he's kind of furious at Kushner and Trump. So he's talking about, I'll get Kushner, right? But is he also talking about getting Trump? I mean, who else is going down to Florida? Kushner lives in New York. Trump lives down in Florida, right? And so what's interesting is that Roger Stone on a couple of occasions has like pinged or pushed Trump, but Trump has never pushed him back.
That is weird.
That's the one guy he's never ever bullied, right? So that is curious. And look at him threatening Trump's family. If Trump cares about anyone in the world, and it's not clear that he does, it would be Ivanka, right? And he's calling her your abortionist bitch daughter. And not a peep out of Trump. I mean, you saw earlier in the show, we showed you his Truth Social account. He's got like 200 messages an hour that he's tweeting out there, right? But nothing about Roger Stone calling your beloved Ivanka a bitch? Oh my God. Donald Trump's a little bit like Ted Cruz. Remember when Trump called Cruz's wife ugly, and then Cruz was like, okay, sir, of course, sir. Now Roger Stone calls Donald Trump's daughter a bitch. And Trump's like, okay, sir, thank you, sir. May I have another, sir?
Yeah.
Oh, whatever Roger Stone has on Donald Trump, it is thermonuclear.
Yeah, and look, obviously, I don't know that Trump is necessarily watching this, but like this is a moment where you get to decide, are you going to kind of be the alpha they pretend that you are? Are you gonna be weak as hell? I mean, I'm not gonna be specific, no spoilers or anything, but recently in House of the Dragon, a king who's generally thought of as fairly weak, when someone called his daughter a name, he was ready to knife that person. But you don't have a problem with him calling her not only a bitch, but also weirdly bringing up her position on abortion, which also says so much about Roger Stone. Why was that the thing that you thought of?
And wait, John, there's a second thing about there's just 3 words there, but they're all rich, okay? Abortionist doesn't necessarily mean someone who supports abortion. It more accurately means someone who had an abortion. She's not abortion supporting, she's an abortionist.
That's true.
Okay, so I don't
weird.
know. I don't know that. I'm not the one who said it.
How
Roger
would he
Stone,
know?
very close to Donald Trump. Well, what else does he know? Remember, Roger Stone has some sort of weirdo mind lock on all these idiots, right? And I call them idiots all the time, except there's people I never call idiots. Tucker Carlson, Roger Stone, and a couple others, right? Because they're not idiots. So Roger Stone somehow does this Jedi mind lock on him. Remember Alex Jones, we found out through the trial. In fact, we found out on this show when the lawyer that was against him told Anna the story, texted a naked picture of his own wife to the biggest hatchet man in American political history, Roger Stone. Why would you do that? Are you insane? But yet he did it. So what has Trump told Roger Stone? What has Trump texted Roger Stone? That Roger Stone feels perfectly comfortable on camera, just like dismissively slapping around not just Kushner and Ivanka, but Donald Trump.
Yeah.
I guess we know who the real alpha is. Now that's a fact. So if Trump doesn't say anything about it, you know he's a beta.
Jesus. Anyway, that's just the latest in several of the videos coming from this documentary crew that we've shown you. Stone is now threatened to file a $25 million lawsuit. At the time, coming out now, considering how bad it makes him look.
Yeah, I want to say 2 more things about the pardon because it's 2 more. Like, think about how interesting this is. Roger Stone says to Jared Kushner and Donald Trump, "Oh, you didn't give me a pardon for my crimes? Well, you better not come down to Miami. I might kill you." Not really the best way to ask for a pardon, okay? Not the best way to convince people that you're not a criminal, but of course they're all criminals. They all know already that they're criminals. The question is who's handing out get out of jail free cards, right? Okay, and then the second part of it is, look at how worried he was that they were gonna convict him and send him to prison over what he did on January 6th in organizing a coup against America. He was really, really worried.
Yeah, freaked out.
And I might have to withdraw my earlier statement that he's one of the few non-idiots. You thought the Democrats were gonna hold you accountable? It's been 2 years, they finally subpoenaed Donald Trump, right? Like they barely got to it. I haven't even heard a word about Roger Stone, right? You thought these feckless loser Democrats were gonna hold any of you accountable? That's funny, that's really funny. It turns out they way overestimate the Democrats too.
100%. Okay, we got a couple more things to talk about, but one more break. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Beta. That's what I do.
All right, guys, so many great comments. I don't know how I'm going to get to all of them. All right, let's start. YouTube Super Chat. Lamps Life says, Cenk, you're the best news host to ever exist. John, you do a good job as well. Okay, here we go. Now that started. Juan Morales says, happy to finally become a member. Salute to Cenk and John. By the way, lock him up. After due process, of course, yeah, it's because he's a progressive, okay? And so thank you for doing that. Everybody else, of course, hit that join button below the video on YouTube, tyt.com/join. This is a great day to do it. Brandon Butler, Cenk's impersonation never get old. Wow, that's awesome. Thank you so much. All right, so, that's a good point. Wait, hold on, I'm gonna come back to that. Michael Norris says, I would bring in a pinch hitter, Katie Porter. Ooh.
To like do the actual
do the Trump test. Oh my God, can you imagine? Like you see like a tunnel coming in. You say dun dun dun, and you hear a bat like boom, 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 and then Aguilar gets up and says, "I'm gonna have someone sub in for me." Okay, and they're like, "Who is it? Who is it?" And then Katie Porter comes in. Trump's like, "No,
with a steel chair."
I'm breaking things in here. I got so excited. Wait. All right, look, I don't.
And the biggest whiteboard that has ever been made.
So Michael, I don't know if you remember, but if you remember, rewards@tyt.com, that's how you're gonna get the Blue Apron gift card, because you got a Blue Apron gift card, $100. Okay, you give $3, you get $100. Where does that happen?
God, normally for that kind of return on investment, you have to buy a politician.
Exactly, all right?
He laughed, I should get one.
Rewards@tyt.com to get your gift cards if I said you earn one, okay? So here we go. Let's go to YouTube members now. They're guaranteed to be members. Pitchfork Dragon says, you know what they say, when they go low, we get high or something. Okay.
I forget.
That's funny. I might have given you one before. You get another Blue Apron gift card. This is ridiculous. $100 for Pitchfork Dragon. Okay. Chaz Bizarre writes in, justice delayed is justice denied. Let's vote like our lives depend on it and press our representatives to hold Trump traitors accountable. Thank you, TYT. Absolutely. You've got to vote. You've got to vote. Okay. To forget the Democrats, just vote against Republicans, Otherwise, they're going to ruin our democracy. Phyllis Masters says, I love to paint while I listen to the show. Artists are being replaced by AI, but I still stubbornly paint. Good for you, Phyllis.
Nice.
We like that. You get $100 gift card for painting and defeating the machines. Way to go, Phyllis. Okay, rewards@tyt.com. Tabi says, Cenk is the biggest alpha male I've ever seen. You get a Blue.
Oh, let's not incentivize that.
No, that's the only one. That's the only one. But I'm giving you one, or I don't know who it is, but you're sweet. Thank you, I appreciate it. But that's the last one I'll give away for compliments. Okay. Average Josh MTG said, thanks for keeping that information truthful. Over 2 years, being better informed has been a beautiful thing. I win all arguments thanks to you all. That's amazing. Thank you. And absolutely two smartest, funniest guys on TYT and all other media. Makes great Friday for me, Reed Birch. Thank you, Reed, you're awesome, thank you. We'll be back.
Beta! That's what I do.
All right, back on TYT, Cenk and John with you guys on a fun Friday. You guys ready for this? But not just us. Juan Morales, Brian Benny, Spunky the Dragon, Laura Gully, Matthew Petronovich, and Dana B all just became members.
Damn.
It's a good day to become a member, man. I'm giving away $100 like crazy. Somebody called me Oprah in here. It's a little bit, I'm not saying, best talk show host in the country. I'm not saying, I haven't said a word. Did I win Best Webby for the entire planet? I haven't said it. They said it. All right, anyways, John, go ahead.
Is that an award for the whole planet? Okay.
Best web host, yeah.
Anyway, by the way, if you're getting a little bit jealous about the Blue Apron thing, look under your chair. There's nothing under there.
No,
sorry, I didn't come to your house.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine?
That would be freaky. Yeah. Anyway,
TYT has snuck into all of your houses.
Anyway, we'll work on that for next time. Okay, let's have, I guess, a little bit of fun, starting with this.
The entire leadership of the so-called progressive movement is that. They're totally and utterly corrupt. Is anyone on the left pointing this out? Has Cenk Uygur said a word about it? The so-called radicals at Chapo Trap House?
Okay, so that is Tucker Carlson, who wants to take a dig at Cenk and clearly does know how his name is pronounced, but he also knows that he's supposed to pretend that he can't pronounce most people's names to appeal to his racist audience, so he came up with an alternate way to do it. And we're gonna get to what he's talking about there, but to understand why he started this whole monologue, we need to backtrack just a little bit and take a look at what happened at a recent AOC town hall. Look at this.
None of this matters unless there's a nuclear war, which you voted to send arms and weapons to Ukraine. Tulsi Gabbard, she's left the Democratic Party because there are a bunch of war hawks.
You have done nothing. Tulsi Gabbard has shown guts where you've shown cowardice. I believed in you, and you became the very thing you sought to fight against. That's what you've become. You are the establishment, and you are the reason why everybody will end up in a nuclear war unless you choose to stand up right now and denounce the Democratic Party.
Okay, so those were two Tulsi Gabbard supporters who I believe are constituents of AOC who don't like her votes to fund the defense of Ukraine and have a particular position on nuclear war that I don't think is actually reflective of anything that she's ever said and done. But they're, of course, free to believe literally whatever they want. More importantly, for Tucker Carlson, this is an opportunity for him. You can have legitimate views of AOC or anyone. For Tucker Carlson, he wants to destroy the left. He does not want progressives to have any power or any influence whatsoever. And so when he saw this, he just jumps in it. It's an opportunity for him to attack AOC and anyone else affiliated with AOC. We're gonna get to more of what he had to say, but of course, since he did name check you, Cenk, what do you think?
Okay, I'm gonna get to my response to Tucker in a second. I just want to interrupt to say those two guys are total and complete frauds. Okay, I don't know that they live in that district at all. They're definitely not Democrats and they're definitely not progressives. Total, utter frauds, Republicans, we have to prove for it. I believed in you, he said. Total, utter liar. We're gonna prove that he's a liar.
So yeah, so one of them apparently has said on social media that he voted for Trump twice.
That guy, the guy who said, I believed in you.
I get that. My point would be, I don't, like, it's two people at a town hall. I don't particularly care what any random person at a town hall believes about politics. Like, I mean, I'm not gonna litigate it.
I'm gonna litigate it. Frauds.
Sure.
No, but I'm not, okay. Look, they're two rando trolls or whoever they are, right? They're not important. What's driving me crazy is people who are like, oh, the progressive peace activists are mad at AOC. Well, why don't you just write their propaganda for them? That was the whole point of trolling her, was so that idiots would call them progressive peace activists. They're just Republicans. They're like, Tulsi Gabbard's the best. We're gonna get back to that in a second too. She should leave the Democratic Party like her. Why don't you renounce the Democratic Party? I am a progressive. Wink. Get that out of here.
Yeah,
okay.
The only reason I say it is it's impossible for me to know how genuine, like I obviously don't agree with them. Obviously I don't think that AOC wants a nuclear war. I don't get where that comes from. But what they say is not nearly as important as the framing that comes out of it that people like Tucker Carlson and Jesse Waters, I mean, every right-wing media figure is jumping on this because their goal is for, especially going into 2024, there to be no progressives that have any chance of taking over the Democratic Party. That is their goal. What any particular activist goal is, I have no idea. But the right wing does not want there to be a progressive alternative to either Donald Trump or Ron DeSantis, or also importantly, for us as leftists, they don't want there to be any progressives that have any support that can stand up to a Kamala Harris, to a Buttigieg, to anything like that. Because while the right wing would prefer to have a Ron DeSantis or a Donald Trump, if it's gonna come down to an AOC or a Kamala Harris, they're of course gonna go for the establishment, more moderate Democrat. And so it's sort of our duty to make sure that people understand exactly what these progressives are. Criticize them. I mean, I know you feel very free to criticize even AOC and all that, but it has to be based in fact and reality. And Tucker Carlson and all of them have no interest in that whatsoever.
Yeah, no, I've been furious at progressives, and I did a video called "I'm Burning All My Bridges" about Justice Democrats who I helped to get elected because they wouldn't fight back in a critical time during the beginning part of the Biden administration and throughout a lot of it, right? There's tons and tons of legitimate critique of policy and strategy. And have you ever heard me on Jayapal? And she's theoretically the leader of the Progressive Caucus, and she's furious with me. So we're not talking about legitimate criticism of progressives, and within the progressives, there's plenty of disagreements on actual policy as well.
Yeah.
No, I'm talking about frauds. Here, I'll show graphic one, Jose Vega. So this is one of the guys. Here's his tweet. Who's blaming the president? I voted for Trump twice. Pompeo needs to go before he starts a war with Iran. Trump's the one who got us out of the Iran deal and was going to start threatening, basically almost got us into World War III. But they're trying to get you to believe that Trump is for peace and AOC is for war.
And importantly, Trump kept us in the wars, whereas Biden got us out of Afghanistan. Trump dramatically increased the number and severity of the drone strikes during his time.
So we're gonna go back to Tucker, but guys, the reason I keep emphasizing that is because this is coordinated. These two right-wing trolls go in to start this thing. They are taping, right? And then immediately Tucker and Jesse Waters and Jimmy Dore and all those guys are on it. And they're like, oh, boom, right. Oh, yes, progressive activist, peace activist. Oh my God, AOC's not progressive. Later, I'm gonna tell you why they're attacking progressives, because that's super important, but keep going.
Interesting. Yeah, well, we wanted to get into more of what Tucker Carlson had to say, particularly about you. So let's jump into that next clip.
Okay, so those are actual progressives. Now, there's no doubt that on virtually any other issue, we wouldn't agree with them. Don't know what their beliefs are, probably don't intersect with ours. But on this specific issue, which does matter, they're absolutely right. Sandy Cortez is not a radical, she's not a progressive, she's a neocon.
So just to be clear, in the same way that he had to pretend that he couldn't pronounce your name, he calls her Sandy because in addition to having to reassure his audience on a nightly basis that he's a racist, he also has to reassure them that he's a misogynist as well. And if you're an actual leftist who actually is anti-war and all that, you really need to understand, and I'm sure the vast majority of you do, that Tucker Carlson doesn't care about any of that. Jesse Waters doesn't care about any of that. They're not interested in cutting the military budget or anything like that. So let's just, like, the idea that Tucker Carlson is just calling balls and strikes when it comes to progressives and everything. He doesn't have like an agenda or anything. Like, let's just be clear about who Tucker Carlson is.
Yeah, I mean, look, why do we keep saying he's pretending to mispronounce my name? Because we had an hour-long debate at Politicon, and what you might not know is it was kind of delayed, and we talked for half an hour before that, behind the scenes, and then we talked afterwards as well. He pronounced my name perfectly well in all of those instances. So he knows he's doing it on purpose to be like, ha ha, he's a foreigner.
Yeah, that's all it is. It's obvious.
And so that's why we're saying it. Otherwise, my name is super easy to mispronounce. But not in his case, because he knows it for a fact. And then they call AOC a neocon, hilarious, right? But remember the two guys who are progressives, how funny was that? The guy's like, I voted for Trump twice, I'm so proud of it. And he's like, no, these are progressives I don't agree with, okay? But then they're all backing Tulsi because she's for peace. Is she? Because she was totally in favor of the drone strikes all across the world. She was totally in favor of torture. Even back before she started pretending to be a progressive, she had all those positions. She's been in favor of every single war against, coincidentally, Muslims. So she's like, oh, Putin started a war? Yeah, I'm against the Ukrainians fighting back. I'm definitely against the Ukrainians fighting back. But she was also in favor of Russia starting what they did in Syria, right? She was in favor of Assad. He's the one that started the civil war in the first place. Well, to be fair, he didn't start the civil war, correction, right? It was a civil war against him, but he did massive atrocities. Oh, I mean, why randomly go and support Assad? She went and met with them, right?
I have no
she
idea.
supported every Russian war, every war against Muslims. And they're like, she's the one for peace. Okay, every part of this is fraudulent. That's the important part, keep going.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and by the way, you can say that she's against American intervention, which might be generally true.
No,
but that's
she's
not,
for drone strikes all
no,
across
I get
the
that.
world.
I'm saying she's against specifically long-term occupying nation building, I guess. She's not against.
I don't believe that either, but I hear you.
Sure. But even like if you say, I don't want arms to go to Ukraine, I don't want money to be spent on it, you can say that you're against intervention, but that's not pro-peace because peace is not the result. The devastating loss of massive numbers of civilians is the result of that. Ukraine being conquered, people being killed, shipped off to Russia, raped, thrown into mass graves. That's not peace. You can say that you're against intervention, but there's no peace here. Let's just be clear about that for Tulsi Gabbard or whoever.
Yeah, one more thing about that. So I hear Tulsi and Tucker and Jimmy Dore all saying like, oh, we're for against the war. That's why we should not help Ukraine. Do not help the Ukrainians. But I've never heard them say, oh, we're also of course against Putin, that monster that started this war. Well, if you're against war, wouldn't you lead with that? Wouldn't you reiterate that all the time? Wouldn't you say it once? Wouldn't you say, oh, Putin's a monster. He murdered all those civilians, started an imperialistic, aggressive war. What a horrible, horrible person, a tyrant. But God damn it, we don't want to make the war worse. So hey, listen, we shouldn't do this kind of rhetoric. We shouldn't do that kind of funding. I say, okay, well, then you have a legitimate opinion. I might not agree with how we do the funding, and there's a ton of nuance there, right? But okay, I respect that. Yeah. No, never. So go ahead, Tulsi Gabbard. Go ahead, I dare you to say that Putin's a monster who started this war. She'll never say it because she works for him. So that, guys, everything about this is fraudulent. So you can say, hey, that's hyperbole that she works for him, I guess, okay? But she certainly acts like it because she's like, I can't believe America is doing this. America's doing what, you dumbass? He's the one that started the war. He started the war and you have no criticism for him? Guys, please, look, they're targeting. So I'll just get to this right now. Why are they going after progressives? Think about it, guys. That's so weird. We're out of power. It's not like Bernie's president. It's not like AOC's the Speaker of the House. We get crushed on a regular basis by corporate media. We get attacked by conservative Democrats nonstop. Why are they going after us? I don't mind. I love the fight, but it's weird, right? So there's two reasons why. Number one, they're trying to pick off because the elections are decided a lot of times by tiny margins, certainly under 5 points. So you got really close races that might be happening in Pennsylvania, Georgia, Wisconsin, Nevada, etc., right? They're just trying to pick off the lowest IQ people on the left. The ones that will believe that Donald Trump is a peaceful, honest, decent person, and that Trump is more progressive than AOC. I mean, you'd have to be the bottom of the barrel IQ to believe that. But they think, yeah, I think we got maybe 2 to 5% of progressives we can get on that. You know, I mean, so some people listen to Jimmy Dore. I think we might be able to find these elusive bottom of the barrel IQ people and get them to vote for Republicans who will start more wars. Who are the most corrupt people on earth? Because we think that progressives are suckers. You're gonna let them treat you like a sucker that believe that Tucker Carlson and Donald Trump are more for peace than AOC and Bernie Sanders? I mean, you'd have to lose your mind to believe that. The second reason is because, and then Tucker's a long-term thinker, and I've never called him dumb. We've talked about that a lot. Who's the only one that could actually beat a Republican in 2024? They're already thinking way past Biden. Biden's hopeless. Kamala Harris is hopeless. They already beat those two up. Only a progressive, because they would be populist, could beat a Republican in 2024. They're like, oh, please give us Pete Buttigieg, please. Give us Biden when he's 98, please. Progressive, no, let's go ambush them now. Yeah. I mean, that is thinking ahead. So credit where credit is due. Because a weirdo attack on progressives makes no sense otherwise. He's wasting Fox News airtime, not attacking Biden and Pelosi, but going after people who have no power at all? No, that's long-term strategy.
100%. I know we have this video of you. I know that we are over, but it also directly contradicts what he's saying.
Yeah, real quick.
So the claims that Tucker's making specifically, and again, to your point, he's not just attacking AOC. Why is he attacking leftist media? Come on, it's so weird because he doesn't want there to be movement going into 2024. Anyway, the claim he's making is that people like Cenk or I guess me or whoever, all we want is war. We want nuclear war. I want to live out Fallout 4 or something. So why aren't we criticizing any of the money or the spending or whatever? Well, here's a little mashup of Cenk and Anna doing exactly that.
Biden is planning on soliciting Congress for tens of billions of dollars in additional funding for Ukraine. The money would go toward, of course, military weaponry, also humanitarian aid. But what this reveals is that the government seems to have a bipartisan effort to easily appropriate money for any type of defense spending, any type of war-related effort. And this is a perfect example of that.
Look, we love Ukraine. We love that they're fighting back. What Russia did was horrific. But whenever it's bankers or defense industry, it gets approved right away. Child tax credit, paid family leave. You want to take paid family leave? Hell no. How are we gonna pay for that? That's for the average American. They didn't bribe any politicians at all. Last award goes to one of our members, Dragon with the Girl Tattoo, said, I kind of doubt Boeing and Raytheon care where the weapons go after they get their money. So of course that's true.
There's a caveat to that. If the weapons do end up in the wrong hands, that paves the way for them to send more weapons in whatever future war we have to deal with as a result of some dangerous militia having, these dangerous weapons.
That's exactly what I was gonna say. So Tucker Carlson said, why hasn't Cenk Uygur spoken out against all this money to go into the defense contractors? Except that I did.
Yeah.
So, wow, Tucker Carlson lying. Who could have guessed that? But I'm gonna leave on Tulsi Gabbard because this is they're all saying, oh my God, Tulsi is like the queen of the left, and she's the real leftist, and AOC's too conservative, a neocon, right? So Walker Bragman tweet here about Army General Don Bolduc. He's running in New Hampshire, okay, for a very important seat, and Tulsi Gabbard's decided to endorse him. Whoa, a Republican, a Trumpy Republican. Well, maybe he's a reasonable guy. Well, let's find out. As Bragman points out, Bolduc doesn't think Medicare negotiating drug prices is a good thing. He's a corporatist. He doesn't, Jimmy's like one thing is, I care about Medicare for all. That's why I'm supporting Tulsi Gabbard. She's supporting a person who says, no, the government should not negotiate drug prices. They should just let the drug companies pick any price they like, so they could kill you with how high their prices are. She's actively campaigning for that monster, okay? But it's a lot more. And wants to end direct election of senators, cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. He opposes legal abortion, of course he does, but Tulsi's leftist, hilarious, has promoted Trump's big lie and suggested that COVID jabs are installing microchips for Bill Gates. That's the kind of lunatic right-winger corporatist that Tulsi Gabbard is campaigning for now. So if you hear someone telling you that Tulsi Gabbard's the real leftist, you know you're talking to a troll or one of the dumbest people alive. Okay, but to be fair to them, and that's why I read it, maybe they don't know it, but now you know it. Now you know it for sure. So if there was any of you out there that were genuine left at all, if there's a single leftist still listening to Jimmy Dore and Tucker Carlson, etc., just understand, no, they're feeding you a bag of lies and they're tricking you into supporting the worst corporatist, hawk, right-wingers you could possibly imagine. Go check out Bolduc's record, check out to see if Tulsi has endorsed him. You can look at it for yourself. She's supporting right-wing monsters, pretending that AOC is a neocon. So if you fall for that trick after this, I can't help you past that. Go get counseling. All right. We got to go. John, thank you. Everybody check out the damage report, and we'll be back with another great hour.
Our system is inherently rigged against the will of the people.
They have 50% of the vote, and in a democracy, they should have 50% of the seats.
But if you live in an insanely gerrymandered district, your vote functionally doesn't matter.
We drew the map in a way that even though we get 50% of the vote, we're gonna get 13 out of the 18 seats.
You don't actually have the ability to translate the will of the voters in your area into actual government policy.
They should not be allowed to gerrymander these districts. We should actually have a democracy.
I've been honest with him, like, yeah, I was upset with you and I should have done it, but instead I was like, I'm just trying to protect my engagement ring.
At TYT, our mission is to boldly pursue truth, challenge the establishment, and drive positive change. At a time when corporate capture of our media, our government, and our politics is nearly absolute, Everyday working people need a champion to fight for them and to push back against the powerful interests that threaten our democracy itself. At TYT, we're proudly progressive and call out corruption and duplicity wherever we see it, from Republicans, Democrats, or anyone else. And unlike mainstream news media outlets, we're not beholden to corporate advertisers, to defense contractors, to Wall Street, or to big pharma. We only have to answer to our audience, and for nearly 2 decades, we've accomplished that by delivering honest, timely, and insightful perspectives on the day's news without fear or favor or concern for whose toes we might step on or which powerful elites we might offend. And while we're super serious about the news, we also manage to do it in a way that is fun and lighthearted. We can do this together and serve our audience, and yes, have fun doing it.
Indisputable has been named the fastest growing news TV show in the United States of America, compared to all shows on CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, and roughly 30 others. What do we do on this show? We tell the truth. You know why we tell the truth? Because the truth is simply indisputable. Donald Trump radicalized citizens. He's the chief terrorist. Republicans still want you to think that critical race theory is the greatest evil that can happen in K-12 education. It's not even taught. I guarantee you this, David. If he would have taken a knee during the national anthem to bring awareness to the need for more money for cancer research in America, he would not have had that response. It was the fact that he took a knee for black folk and brown folk. You rather pick the voters because you're scared of the voters picking the politicians. It frightens you. But we coming. When you are in a privileged position, equality looks like oppression to you. The Karenicity runs deep in this one. We provide a mirror for reflection and a mirror for correction.
So what if I have 35? Don't hit me. Don't touch me. Don't touch me.
So let's put up the graphic of this Karen in peak performance. Boom. They want anarchy so they can start creating their own rules.
Can you share with me some examples?
When they were running around during the terrorist attack on January 6th saying, hang Mike Pence. So those are the people I'm talking about. That's a problem, correct? You work for Mike Pence, stand up for the guy. Do not allow the ideology of politics to evaporate the humanity that still exists inside of you. They don't stop, I don't stop. Racism won't stop, I won't stop. Systemic bias won't stop, so I won't stop. People still need health care, so I won't stop. People still need criminal justice systems reformed in this country, so I won't stop. And you won't stop either.
It's October 14, 2022, and if you can believe it, it's a Friday once again.
Drop. Power panel. I love this power panel. Jake Uger, Jessica Burbank, Helen Hong. Helen, good to have you back.
Nice to see you.
Yeah, in person.
I know. We're doing it. We're doing it. Am I catching diseases? I don't know.
We'll find out. We'll find out. Whatever you do, though, don't treat it. Okay. Fauci and Gates will follow you around for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
All right. It's great to have you back in studio. Jessica, wonderful to see you. We got a ton of stories, guys, so let's get to it.
Let's get right into it. All right, an Israeli politician is getting criticism for pulling out a gun and commanding the cops next to him to start firing at Palestinians for throwing rocks, bringing guns to a rock fight. The politician in question is Itamar Ben-Gvir, who's head of the extreme right-wing party there, the Otzma Yehudit party. So let's watch this disturbing video. So in the first clip here, you can see that rocks are being thrown. And in the second clip here, I just want to note that Ben-Gvir is saying, don't look here. If they throw stones, shoot them. So quite the chaotic scene. This is how the politician is responding to rocks being thrown in this direction. Bringing out a gun himself and directing the cops to shoot at the Palestinians there. So Ben-Gvir was visiting the Sheikh Jarrah neighborhood in East Jerusalem, where there's been fighting over the past few nights. And he claims that he pulled out his gun because he felt threatened by the rocks that were being thrown, thought bullets was a reasonable response to that. He gave this quote: "The politicians are tying the hands of our cops. It cannot be that Arabs throw stones next to cops and the cops don't respond with fire." Ben-Gvir visited that same neighborhood on Wednesday night when he threatened to mow Palestinians down if they throw stones. He said, "We're landlords here. Remember that. I am your landlord." Really just saying the quiet part out loud. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so this is, of course, absolutely disgusting. But look, I want you to think it through, okay? So let's say that somebody threw a stone at me. Actually, I've had a stone thrown at me when I was a kid, and it landed on my head, and I was bleeding from the head, and the kid's mom comes out and goes, "What did you do to my son?" I'm like, what did I do to your son? I'm bleeding from the head. So, and if you had said to me at that point, "Hey, here's a gun, you wanna shoot him?" I'd be like, "No, what are you, a monster? Why would I yeah, I'm super mad. I'm bleeding from the head. I'm not gonna murder that kid, right?" But this guy thinks, oh yeah, not only that, he said shoot into the crowd. Not himself, like he pulled out his own gun and he might've done it himself and you saw the people holding him back, right? But he told the guards there, just shoot into the crowd, kill him, kill him. But there's one guy who threw a stone, I saw one stone, right? Let's say there's two guys that threw a stone, right? There's 12, 20 people, however many people there. If you said to me, hey, somebody's gonna throw a stone at you, and by the way, miss, and they're in a crowd of 12 people, should we kill all 12? Guys, I mean, even if you're the most right-wing Israeli there is, really kill them all? Because one threw a stone and missed, and you want to kill the other guys that are, please don't answer yes, so you can live with yourself, right? But that guy's a very prominent politician and could be part of the next governing coalition in Israel. And by the way, one of his policy planks is to loosen the restrictions on using live bullets so they could kill more Palestinians. This occupation is brutal. And then he comes in and rubs it in their face, goes, "I'm your landlord." It's just about as disgusting as you can imagine.
Yeah, I like, Jessica, that you said saying the quiet part out loud, because I feel like that's the quiet part that shouldn't be said out loud, and yet this is a prominent Israeli politician. And Cenk, the story you were telling was you as a little boy. This is like a voting member of the Israeli government, like someone who actually has political power, who's like, "You throw a stone at me, I'm gonna shoot you all." I mean, it's crazy, it's genocide. It's genocide. This is the ruling party, the landlords, over Palestinians who are like, we're gonna kill you all if you even dare to like throw a rock at our feet, like, and miss. Like, come on, it's so ridiculous. I feel like supporting Israel at this point is like supporting a real crappy cop. It's like being best friends with Derek Chauvin, the guy who killed George Floyd, right? It's like even his wife left him. Like Derek Chauvin's wife was like, "I'm out of here. Like you're such a like disgusting specimen of a human. Like I'm getting divorced." But it's like if you were like the childhood best friend of Derek Chauvin was like, "No, man. I mean, I know, like, sometimes he can get a little out of line, but like he's my homie. He's my homie." That's what it feels like. Yeah. Supporting Israel is for the United States right now. Is like, yeah, there are homies, but we cannot defend the horrible things that they do.
Yeah, to that point, look, Israel is not a monolith, right? So there is actually members of opposing political parties that were left-wing, progressive Israeli cabinet, not cabinet members, but members of the Knesset that said that this guy doesn't belong in the Knesset, he belongs in jail. So there are Israelis who are also really mad at him, okay? But when you look at what is your government doing, well, that's why we're asking the people of Israel, along with everyone else, you gotta tackle Derek Chauvin before he does it again, okay? So we do it. So when we invaded Iraq, we were on there, Young Turks was. We said, don't invade Iraq. That's terrible, we'll be monsters. And we were, we killed hundreds of thousands of civilians. So you don't say that because you hate America, you say that because you love America and you want America to be better and to not do something outrageous and awful, right? And guys, at this point, is it a question that Israel's an apartheid state? Of course it's not a question. Look, that same guy that pulled out the gun, he said, I want, if they hit any of our tanks with stones, we should get out of the tank and use live ammunition and kill them all, okay? Now, when they asked him, well, Israeli settlers also sometimes attack Israeli tanks. Should you do the same thing? He didn't answer. In other words, he's saying, I'm a racist. For the same exact thing, you should let Jews do it all the time, Jewish settlers, right? But if a Palestinian does it, you should murder them. Well, if that's not racist, I don't know what is. So he doesn't represent all of Israel, but he could be part of a governing coalition soon. The way you say, no, that's not me, that guy's a monster, is by voting against him.
Right.
Jessica.
I don't want to read too much into what's been said here because I understand there could be a language barrier, but what he said was specifically, it cannot be that Arabs throw stones next to cops and the cops don't respond with fire. Okay, next to cops, you're not even hitting the cops with the stones, respond with fire. Also, this is not about just anyone throwing stones at the cops and the cops being in danger. This is very clearly, because they don't like the Palestinian people and are committing apartheid against the Palestinian people. And Israel has just upgraded its oppressive campaign against the Palestinians in Israel. So let's get into some of those details there. Commanders of the Israeli occupying forces, the IOF, have been authorized to use armed drones to kill Palestinians in the occupied West Bank. Although drones have been employed for surveillance, this is the first time armed drones will be utilized in the occupied West Bank. So armed drones have been authorized in Gaza for years now and have been used to kill Palestinians. Drones, the frontline weapon in Israel's surveillance operation, efforts to foil rocket attacks, killed more than 90 Palestinians in each of the years 2006 and 2007. According to Gaza human rights group El Mizan, the figures soared during Operation Cast Lead and its aftermath, with 461 Palestinians killed by drones in 2019. The number, in 2009. The number peaked again with 199 deaths in 2012, the year when Israel launched the 8-day Operation Pillar of Defense against Gaza. Drones are also used to drop tear gas on Palestinians.
So, I mean, this is a sci-fi movie. This is just horror on top of horror. So they're like, oh, we had to kill the Palestinians because they were throwing stones. That's self-defense. Otherwise, I might have gotten a scratch. And you say, oh, Cenk, don't minimize it with a scratch. Look, I'm gonna go back to my, not analogy, but what actually happened when I was a kid, right? That story, he didn't pick up a little stone. It was a giant chunk of the driveway that had fallen out, right? And so, and trust me that when you're bleeding from the head, it hurts a lot. Under no circumstances would I have said, even though it squarely hit me, it was a giant piece of rock, it caused massive damage. No way, even as a kid, would I have said, murder that kid because he threw that stone. This guy's saying, throw it at my feet, kill him, right? And on the drones, well, it's not self-defense. There's no Israeli there. They're just saying, kill him. Kill him.
Yeah. So now it's not only me, you're hurting me personally, but my stuff. Don't injure my stuff. If you even try to injure my stuff, then I'm gonna mow you down. It's like you said, there's no Israeli there. It's a drone. It's an unmanned drone. It's basically an Israeli soldier is playing a video game inside a very secure bunker, playing a video game with this drone, but actually shooting at actual live Palestinians. But if the Palestinians somehow throw a rock and you scratch my stuff, oh, it's on now, boy. We're coming after you because you came after our stuff. Like the whole thing is, imagine the United States doing this. I mean, I know we have horrible cops that are killing people of color every day, but imagine if we authorize the use of militarized drones in the United States on US soil against people of color. Like, what? Like, in what universe is this okay? It's like, again, this is just, we're supporting the worst cops.
Yeah, but you said imagine if America did do it. But in a sense, we do it because we pay for those drones. So we give billions of dollars in military funding to Israel, and then they use it for unmanned drones that murder Palestinians. So, I hear big talk from the Tucker Carlsons and the Tulsi Gabbards about oh, we shouldn't fund the Ukrainians. They might use it to kill poor Russian soldiers that have invaded their country, right? Don't do that, right? Well, how about Israel? They're using it for drones against oftentimes civilians in civilian territory when there's potentially not anybody in danger. So obviously we shouldn't be funding their military too, right? But weirdly, the right wing has never spoken out against that. In fact, every Republican says they will give Israel whatever they want and has voted that way every single time. By the way, Tulsi Gabbard also loves war against Muslims and has greatly complimented Israel's right-wing government and doesn't mind any of this, right? So just to give you a sense of the overwhelming hypocrisy of America and the right wing in this instance.
That's exactly what I was thinking as well. Not only Tulsi Gabbard, but thinking about the comments we heard from Kanye West this week, right? Clearly anti-Semitic and earned the defense of pretty much everyone in the conservative party. You had Candace Owens saying these weren't anti-Semitic comments. It's like you can't even say anything about Jewish people without being called anti-Semitic. But if we call out what the Israeli government is doing to the Palestinian people, the title that we always get called is anti-Semitic. This isn't about anti-Semitism. This is about someone committing human rights violations. Yeah. And of course, it's the same people that will call folks anti-Semitic who stand up for the Palestinian people that defend people like Kanye West in America.
So they're like, oh, targeting Palestinians because of their race. Remember, the legislator said, do not shoot the Israeli settlers that are doing the same exact thing, right? Only shoot the Palestinians that's based on their race. They're like, oh, that kind of racism that actually murders people? No problem at all. No problem at all, okay? How dare you criticize the policy of a foreign government? They say with a straight face. Oh, we'll call that anti-Semitic. That's absurd. That's absurd. I just told you there's wonderful progressives in Israel. And by the way, Jewish Americans that are not in Israel. Every time Candace Owens and Tucker, et cetera, talk about Jews, they're like, oh yeah, how about Israel? They're like, wait, we're not talking about Israel, we're talking about Jewish Americans. They're Americans, they're not Israelis, right? And so, because Candace said, oh, Kanye's not anti-Semitic. What's he gonna do, drop a bomb on Israel tomorrow? No, we're talking about Jews in America that are Americans. And you know what? How they vote? Over 70% Democratic. They're among the most progressive people in the country overall in terms of demographics, right? So understand who's trying to trick you and who's trying to tell you reality about policy that where lives are on the line. All right, we got to take a break. When we come back, we've got more news for you guys, including a school board takeover. It's terrible except for the fact that they got punked in a hilarious way. So we've got a little bit of everything. We'll be right back. back on TYT. Aspiration.com/TYT gives you peace of mind. Put your money there. Don't put it in the big banks. The big banks are going to use it for private prisons, fossil fuel money, etc. Our planet is warming nonstop. You're seeing all the results of it. So make sure you're not funding. The big banks have put in, since the Paris Climate Accords, $3.8 trillion into fossil fuel companies. That's where your money's going. They're using your money for it. Don't let them do that. Aspiration.com/TYT. Have peace of mind. And on Boss with Nina Turner starting on Monday, so make sure you're checking that out. On YouTube.com/OnBossTYT is one way to watch it. I want to tell you one more thing that we're doing. We're trying to help the good people of Mississippi, Jackson, Mississippi. They had a massive water problem there. They can't get water. We're getting them water. It goes straight to them. TYT.com/relief. Anything helps. $3, $5, whatever you can do. It's going to go to people in our country that desperately need it. TYT.com/relief. Everybody's left them behind, and we want to make sure we're there for them. All right, let me go to members. Mother of Cat says, Cenk, you look very handsome today. Gift card? Gift card? Okay. It's giving away gift cards. No, I said no more giving away gift cards based on compliments, okay? But thank you. I'm sure you meant it.
Darn. I was going to say, I was also going to say, you look very handsome today. Cenk? No, nothing. Okay, all right. I tried.
Okay, listen. My word is my bond. Okay, I said no more. All right. Gay frog's a real rodent. Alex Jones texted the pics of his wife so he could leave for a gay frog named Herbert. That's one theory. Okay, by the way, the person who might be most likely to believe that theory is Alex Jones. Just be anti-racist said, if AOC is a neocon, then I'm Cenk Weiger. That's funny. Tucker Carlson wrote in, TYT literally calls out defense contractor corruption all the time. Since I first started watching TYT, not a single week has gone by that they haven't called it out. Thank you, appreciate that. And Dragon with a Girl Tattoo says, Herschel Walker actually showed up for the debate. I really thought he'd be a no-show. That is surprising. Lou B said, great hour, thank you. Horse crap legislation said it's pretty awesome to see the constant trickle of new members every single day. Maybe we will overpower the mainstream media one of these days. Tucker already thinks TYT is a threat, apparently. Guys, it's not a maybe. We are going to overpower them. And we never would have made it without the members, and that's still true today. But we grow larger and larger every single day, and we're going to absolutely overwhelm them. By the way, make sure you're checking out Jessica on Rebel Headquarters, where she's absolutely killing it. Rebel Headquarters is one of the reasons why we're blowing up. So, all right, we'll be back. All right, back on TYT, Cenk, Jessica, and Helen with you guys. In fact, Sandra O, one of our members, said, Helen on, awesome, love you on Wait as well.
Thank you.
Yes. All right, and also with us, by the way, today, Pat Riley, SL, ex-Stoner Babe 420, and Matt Avigo. They all became members just now. Hit the join button below and you can join them as well, or go to tyt.com/join. And by the way, Progressive Canuck, you're amazing. They just gifted 10 memberships on YouTube. So I love our community, I love the way we gift things, and today's Food for Thought trivia. So I'm giving away $100 Blue Apron gift cards. We're gonna give away 100 in the first thing we do in the trivia contest in the members only episode. So today's a perfect day to sign up for membership. All right, Jessica, what's next?
All right, let's watch this.
I'm here today because a second grade teacher thought it was appropriate to teach my child about pronouns. I was taught that there are only 2 pronouns, but thanks to the woke left, there are now 100 pronouns.
All right, so that was a comedian, Walter Masterson, who was trolling a school board meeting in Connecticut, Long Island, not to be confused with Connecticut, but there, a teacher was forced to remove a pride flag from the classroom, and we're gonna get more into that video of him trolling in a second. But this is a disturbing trend that is happening where school boards across the country are being overtaken by conservative PACs. They've really set their sights on school board elections, which is an effective strategy if what you're interested in is indoctrinating children and having influence over their curriculums. Their objectives are pretty simple. Right-leaning groups are spending millions on candidates who promise to scale back teachings on race and sexuality, remove offending books from libraries, and nix plans for gender-neutral bathrooms or transgender inclusive sports teams. So at the center of this conservative effort is the 1776 Project, which is a direct response to the New York Times 1619 Project, where they're providing curriculum for anyone to use to teach people about slavery. So they're not very interested in teaching accurate history there. And last fall and spring, 1776 Project PAC succeeded in elevating conservative majorities to office in dozens of school districts across the United States, propelling candidates who have gone on to fire superintendents and enact sweeping Bill of Rights for parents. And they are continuing on their war path. In the wake of recent victories in Texas and Pennsylvania, and having spent $2 million between April of 2021 and this past August, the group is campaigning for dozens of candidates this fall. It's supporting candidates in Maryland's Frederick and Carroll counties, in Bentonville, Arkansas, and 20 candidates across southern Michigan. Unfortunately, this is really not just happening in conservative areas. It's happening in very liberal areas as well, like Philly and Minneapolis. Another one of these conservative think tanks is the American Principles Project. They put a combined $25,000 behind 4 candidates for the Polk County Board in Florida. The group's fundraising average surged from under $50,000 the year before the pandemic to about $2 million now. So these conservative PACs see themselves as a response to teachers' unions who they feel have too much influence over the curriculum for their students. In Maryland's Frederick County, the 1776 group is backing 3 school board candidates against 4 endorsed by education unions. The conservatives are running as Education Not Indoctrination slate, or they're running as the Education Not Indoctrination slate, with a digital ad saying children are being held captive by schools. The ad shows a picture of stacked books bearing the words equity, grooming, indoctrination, and critical race theory. Now, before we get back to what went down in Long Island with that flag in the classroom, what are your thoughts on this?
So this group called Patriot Mobile spent $400,000 in a school board in North Texas. Do you have any idea how much $400,000 is in a school board race? That's like spending
like the entire budget of every candidate.
Yeah. By the way, our kids don't even have books and pencils and stuff. Imagine if you gave the $400,000 to the school, how much better the education would be, right? But spending $400,000 on those tiny little elections is like the equivalent of spending like $1 trillion on a national election. It's just blasting everybody in the race. So, like, the conservatives have run out of seats to buy, right? The Republicans have bought so many seats at the national level. They get so much corporate money. They get so much money from everywhere, right? They bought the national guys, then they moved to the state guys, and they bought so many state guys. They took over the states, they gerrymandered them, they got it on lockdown. They're like, they run out of things to buy. They're like, okay, which politician should we buy next? I don't know, let's go to random school boards. Now, and I say I don't know jokingly because why are they doing it? I know why they're doing it. Because it's indoctrination. It's the most ironic thing in the world. What the schools are teaching now is actually history and math and science. And these guys don't like that. They're like, no, I don't. You're teaching that America had racism? Nope, I don't want it. Spend $400,000, buy the entire school board, and then we'll teach them that there was no racism in America. Slavery, what name so, right? We'll just make it up. We'll replace their stupid facts with propaganda. And look, right-wingers love that. They don't want the truth. They don't want it. So, like, they theoretically don't like corruption. And I actually give the right-wing voters credit all the time. One of the reasons they liked Trump in 2016 was he kept saying drain the swamp, right? And they really do want the swamp drained. But when you tell them, yeah, but can we just do corruption to buy the entire school board so we can make you feel better about your ancestors passed? They're like, oh yeah. I didn't know you meant that. Yeah, then go ahead and do the corruption. And just in case, just like I want to explain in case you're new to American politics, how do they quote unquote buy the board? The $400,000 buys you ads that goes to everybody in that area that votes 12 times over. The other side never gets to, and then they lie in the ads. Like I remember, now this is a different race, but when Nina Turner was running, she's like the biggest advocate for $15 minimum wage, right? They bought ads saying she was against $15 minimum wage. They just lied. They took her popular position and said the exact opposite. So now people, they're not sitting there neck deep in politics. They get a thing and goes, oh, they're teaching your kids, they're gonna switch your kid's gender. They're like, oh, sick that, and they panic and they go, okay, I'm gonna vote for you, right? And they put these monsters in. So that's what's happening now all across the country.
I gotta give it to the evil genius that is the GOP, because they're so diabolical and yet so clever. Like they were like, I know, to keep them dumb, start them young. Like that was just, they just decided like, how young? Like diapers. We're gonna start like when they're just learning to read and write. Keep them dumb starting then. We're gonna buy the schools, teach them so they can never not be dumb, and then just continue their dumb journey till they grow up and are old enough to vote for us.
But Helen, what you're saying is actually kind of literal, because I wrote about this in my book, justicescomingbook.com, if you want to pre-order. It's the Lewis Powell memo in 1971. He was a lawyer for the Chamber of Commerce. One of his ideas was taking over the Supreme Court. Oops, so they could legalize money in politics. Oops. But another idea was go take over education. And he said, by the way, he said you should go do a lot of speakers on college campuses as part of the takeover of education. And if they don't let you do corporate propaganda in essence, then say that they're against freedom. They planned that back in 1971.
That's how clever they are. They're so diabolical. They were planning this in 1971 and now it's all coming to fruition. Oh, why are they so evil and genius?
Powell indeed, yeah, that's true.
Really quick, let's get into what this guy was trolling in the last bit of his trolling. So the teacher is an out member of the LGBT community, was first asked to take her Progress Pride flag down from her classroom in September. The classroom is also used for Gay Straight Alliance Club meetings. When the teacher did not take the flag down, she was called into the principal's office and eventually took them down on October 6th. So let's look at the flag that she had up. This is the Progress Pride flag. It's a variation of the older flag with the addition of black and brown representation for people of color, and the pink, light blue, and white represent trans, gender non-binary, intersex, and those across the gender spectrum. And this led to protests at the school, which is super shocking. So let's actually watch the rest of this comedian's footage at that school board meeting.
Patriot, I love freedom of speech. Who loves freedom of speech? You know, I love freedom of speech, except when it comes to pride flags in schools, teaching history. There's a whole list of books I want to ban from the school library. I want to ban kneeling at football games. The point is we need to protect our children, okay? Which is why we need more security in our schools. We need cops patrolling the hallway. We should also hire cops as teachers. And the students, they should also be cops, like in 21 Jump Street. Who saw that? Yeah. We need to, get back to the fundamentals. We need to take down the pride flag, put the American flag back up, and we need to force every child to salute it in the morning, right? That makes sense. Yeah. Thank you.
This reminds me of the reaction to Stephen Colbert. When there were so many people who identified as conservative, they watched Stephen Colbert, they were like, this is so funny, he's making fun of leftists. Leftists watched Colbert and said, this is great, he's making fun of conservatives, brilliant satire. I don't think all of those applause or folks applauding understood that was comedy.
Yes, it's true, because you could tell by watching who was clapping for him in the audience. There were some people who were like, ha ha ha, I get it. And some people were like, yeah!
Freedom, ban the books. Freedom, ban the books. Freedom, ban the books.
It's so true. By the way, I have performed stand-up comedy in Long Island, and I can attest, no offense, Long Island, but y'all are not all the brightest bulb in Long Island. I'm just gonna put that out there and just say, I did comedy in Long Island and making fun of like Asian stereotypes and stuff. And there were definitely members of the audience in Long Island who were like, I get it. And some people were like, yeah, she's one of us. She's making fun of her own people.
Jesus, man. By the way, it ain't Mississippi, it ain't Florida. That's Long Island, man. That's in New York.
It's like 20 minutes outside of New York City.
Walter Masterson does a great job with that. He's been on the show before, and I love the way that he punked him. And you're right, I hadn't thought of the Colbert thing. And I remember that at some point, people said when he was doing that fake Bill O'Reilly character on his Comedy Central show, that right-wingers were believing that he was actually right-wing. And I was like, no, that's no way. That's too much, guys. You're being unfair to the right wing. Now that I've seen all the Trump stuff, oh my God, it was true. They really believed he was trying to do like an O'Reilly-like show. Oh my God. God help us all.
This is to keep them young, to keep them dumb. Start young.
The new GOP slogan. By the way, they'll think it's real. They'll be like, oh, that's a good idea. That's a good idea. That's what we should do. And they'll put it up all over. Take the pride flag down. Put Helen's flag up. She doesn't even like the Asians. Okay, we got to take another break, guys. Sorry. All right, when we come back, more madness. We'll be right back.
America!
TYT Food for Thought trivia today. Great day to become a member, okay? So we're giving away $100 Blue Apron gift cards to 100 members tonight. So you watch the live show, it's a trivia question about something that we talked about during the week. And then at the beginning of the members only show, we do the trivia question you can answer, and the first 100 to get it right win. So tyt.com/join or become a YouTube member by hitting the join button below if you're watching on YouTube. Okay, speaking of which, let's go to YouTube Super Chat. Chancla Kung Fu Dragon writes in, totally different subject. A customer dropped his truck off at my body shop with a bumper sticker that says, this car is on cruise control, as in Ted Cruz, CEO. Oh, that's so sad. That might be sadder than the slogan that Helen just came up with. Okay, Jason Ray says, Tulsi has never renounced her support for the monster Modi. Of course not. She supports Hindu fundamentalism, and that's a thing that exists. And guess what Hindu fundamentalists really, really don't like? Muslims. Okay, that explains a lot about Tulsi. Jason Ray says, so is Tucker implying no Republicans voted for the defense budget? Really? Are his elderly viewers really that dense? Oh, of course they are. Like he's convincing them, the Republican Party that has voted for monstrous defense budgets every year unanimously is against the Defense Department and against war and doesn't want to spend too much money on defense. But AOC's making them. Yes, Fox News viewers believe that. That's why now I'm positive that every right-winger that watched the Colbert Report thought that he was actually a Bill O'Reilly-like thing. They didn't even understand they were watching Comedy Central and they probably didn't get that it was a joke at all. They'll believe anything. They're like Ron Burgundy, but Tucker Carlson says it and they'll believe it. Okay. Omar Venegas, thank you for the donation. Love it. Thank you. Kathy Aran said, thank you for the truth and helping me to stay sane. Look, it's a sign of our times that is probably the most common comment we get now. Thank you for keeping me sane. Because these times are totally insane. I mean, look at what they did in Long Island. Take down a pride flag. What are you doing? Oh, you're not allowed to be gay and put up a flag that people might understand that you're gay. We now hate gay people in Long Island. We do. That's the mental state that we're in. Okay, all Republicans. Mandela Eccles says, I never catch a lie. catch the show live till now. My favorite thing about Cenk is I can vicariously be furious, keep my stress levels low. Well, Mandela, I'm glad I could deliver that for you. I appreciate it.
You're carrying the stress of a nation, Cenk.
That's another good slogan, Cenk. He carries the stress of a nation.
Like if you felt his pulse right now, you'd be, oof, whoa.
All right, this is a sweet one. Sally Thompson says, happy 69th birthday tomorrow to my Jake. Later, let's celebrate like it's 1969 again when some things were illegal and our bodies were limber. Party on this weekend. Love to him and all you from the old folks. That's so sweet, I love you for that. Got Blue Apron gift card if you're a member, okay? Rewards at tyt.com, so you guys can enjoy a little more. All right, back on TYT, Cenk, Jessica, and Helen with you guys. Jessica, take it away.
All right, it's soup season. Let's watch this.
Security.
Security? There's kids with soup here? Yeah, those are two climate activists with Just Stop Oil at the National Gallery in London. The two were arrested for the protest, but don't worry about that Van Gogh painting. The painting is behind a pane of glass. The National Gallery confirmed to Vice World News that the painting is unharmed, but there is minor damage to the frame. Here are the activists explaining their actions there.
What is worth more, art or life? Is it worth more than food? Worth more than justice? Are you more concerned about the protection of a painting or the protection of our planet and people? The cost of living crisis is part of the cost of oil crisis. Fuel is unaffordable to millions of cold, hungry families. They can't even afford to heat a tin of soup.
So as we mentioned, those activists are with Just Stop Oil. We've got more reporting from Vice on this. Just Stop Oil activists campaign to ensure that the United Kingdom government commits to ending all new licenses and consents for fossil fuel production. They have joined other climate activists around the world in a number of attention-grabbing stunts at museums and galleries over the last few months. A few of the other protests that you might have not seen in the news. In July, 5 members of Just Stop Oil glued themselves to a copy of The Last Supper at the London Royal Academy of Arts. Also in July, protesters from Ultima Generazione, the last generation in Italy, glued themselves to the glass covering of Botticelli's Primavera at Gallery degli Uffizi in Florence. Do you think this is an effective form of protest? I'm gonna share my thoughts, but we've got a poll for you all to fill out yourselves. We wanna hear from you, so give your answer there. I'm gonna share mine. I've spent some time as an organizer, and when you do a direct action, you need to make people in power uncomfortable. It needs to be relevant to the cause that you're trying to bring attention to. And I really don't think this does precisely that.
Oh, that's interesting. I really didn't know which way you were going to go on that, because that's why we have the poll question, because I think a lot of people might say, well, look, they got a lot of attention, right? And so, and by the way, it's at tyt.com/polls, and if you're watching later on YouTube or Facebook, we'll have the link down in the description box. You should always check out the description box for more details. Okay, so on this one, look, I'm conflicted on it. I think that they got a ton of attention to it, and a lot of the papers. In fact, someone wrote an article about how the media was stating their cause too much. Like they're like, oh my God, don't state what they're saying, said probably oil lobbyists. But anyway, on the other hand, I agree with Jessica. The framing is super important, right? So when I first read the headline, it didn't explain that the painting was behind plexiglass. And I panicked. I had the same reaction Helen did and the people in the gallery. Okay. And the reason I panicked is not because I love art so much. And I like Van Gogh, God bless, okay? That's not the issue. The issue is, if you start if people think you are damaging things that are important to world culture, you start looking a little bit like the Taliban, okay? So I'm just keeping it real with you guys. Remember when they tore down the historic statues, the whole world went bananas and hated them, right? You don't want to be hated. Now you got to make people uncomfortable, so it's a tough balancing act. I'm not saying it's easy, right? So they did half the job here in getting the attention, but you got to have people root for you instead of rooting against you. So that's why when I see headlines everywhere saying that environmental activists are attacking a Van Gogh painting and people think they really ruined it, that's not the best look.
I thought they completely ruined it. I did not know about the plexiglass, and I thought they completely ruined it. And I was like, oh! And then I was like, yeah, I've seen that painting. It's not one of Van Gogh's best. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie.
I like that you went through all that in your head.
It's not, it's not Starry Night. Like, so I was cool with it. And it did grab a lot of attention. In fact, part of me was a little bit disappointed when I learned about the plexiglass, which I did just now. When Jessica, you said it, I was like, oh man, that's.
You thought they were more badass?
Yeah, I thought they were really like ruining a Van Gogh painting, and I was like, oh my God, that's so ballsy. Like they really, they were going hard, and they were going for the attention, and they got it. Like they grabbed me, and I was like, part of their message is correct in that, we hold these things to be so important, but there are, tell that to starving families of, refugees of the climate crisis who are like never gonna get to see that Van Gogh painting because they're starving and their kids are freezing, and they're like, who cares? So part of the message I got and I understood, and when I thought that the painting was really ruined, I was like, yeah, you stick it to them. But
yeah, I got an idea, because I always want to do constructive critique, because I know they worked hard on that, and I know that they got a lot of attention, and it's sorely needed, and they're absolutely right about the core of the issue, and I wish everybody would wake up to it. So like, here's an idea. Every time there's a disaster, a weather disaster that is likely linked to climate change, people die. What they should do is they should find pictures of those people and then deliver it to the politicians who voted basically to perpetuate climate change, right? And say, here's the people that you killed. And then give include like a picture of the check that they got from oil companies, because they're all taking campaign contributions. And keep showing the pictures of dead people that they caused, because that's real.
Yeah.
And that's also powerful. And it makes people go, oh, wow. Oh, because whenever the mainstream media wants us to invade a country, they show dead babies, right?
Yeah.
They're like, oh, look at what this country did. Oh, look at Saddam Hussein, he's such a monster, right? Oh, look at what he did to the babies, and et cetera, right? Yemen, you haven't seen a single picture of a baby on mainstream media, right? The Saudis have killed hundreds of thousands of civilians, including babies. They're starving them. They're doing blockades. We can show you tons and tons of pictures of dead babies from Yemen. Mainstream media accuracy never showed a single picture of that, right? And so why? Because Saudis are our allies, supposedly, right? And they like the war in Yemen, and the defense contractors love it, and they're advertisers, right? So that's how that goes. So flip that on them and do it that way. So that's one idea.
I think that's such a great idea. And there's this movie coming out, the Emmett Till movie, which I'm like really excited to see. I mean, not excited, but like I think it's important for everyone to see. And that was what moved the needle on a lot of the civil rights movement, was that Emmett Till's mother was like, showed pictures of her son's dead body and how mutilated it was, and goes, look at what they did to my baby. Look at what they did to my baby. And those pictures were on newspaper headlines, in front pages of newspapers, and that's what moved the needle on a lot of the civil rights movement. And so I think that's a great idea. Let's show the pictures of these bodies,
I think you should all take the action for what it was, judge it, vote in the poll, tyt.com/polls, art/over/planet, or dash, not slash. Art over planet. But I'm gonna share some details here that, I don't know, they shouldn't sway you one way or another, but people are hypothesizing that this is a psyop from the right to make activists look silly, because Just Stop Oil is funded by Climate Emergency Fund, which was founded by Eileen Getty, who is the heiress to the Getty oil fortune. The odds might be low that this is a right-wing psyop, but I think it might tell us why this direct action wasn't, I don't know, blocking an oil pipeline or something to that effect. I think it could just be because it's funded by an out-of-touch heiress.
Yeah, no, I have no idea about that because a lot of the people who are heirs to the fortunes, they're like 18 generations down, and a lot of them have turned into progressives. By the way, that's the great news about all these terrible people like Adelsons, Kochs, and Mercers and stuff like that. Their grandkids are very likely progressive. So that money's gonna go down to them at one point, and then they're screwed. I mean, cross your fingers, right? So I have no idea about that particular person. It's an interesting theory. They did talk about the price of oil that I thought it was a little curious. So I'm not judging either way, but yeah. Okay, well, now the poll's even more exciting. Okay, all right, guys. What's also exciting, by the way, is our members only post game. We're gonna do the Blue Apron gift card giveaway. That's $100, true gift card. You don't have to put your credit card information in, and we're giving it to 100 members. So a lot of you are gonna win. We're gonna do that in the members only episode that's coming up in a second, and we're also gonna do
We're gonna get saucy.
Yeah, we are.
It's tomato saucy?
Yeah, one of the dumbest lawsuits you have ever seen. It is hilarious. So tyt.com/join, or if you're on YouTube, you can hit the join button below the video. We'll see you there in a minute.
Indisputable has been named the fastest growing news TV show in the United States of America, compared to all shows on CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, and roughly 30 others. What do we do on this show? We tell the truth. You know why we tell the truth? Because the truth is simply indisputable. Donald Trump radicalized citizens. He's the chief terrorist. Republicans still want you to think that critical race theory is the greatest evil that can happen in K-12 education. It's not even taught. I guarantee you this, David. If he would have taken a knee during the national anthem to bring awareness to the need for more money for cancer research in America, he would not have had that response. It was the fact that he took a knee for black folk and brown folk. You rather pick the voters because you're scared of the vote.